A longtime music venue in the Grove neighborhood in St. Louis is back. Atomic Cowboy shuttered during the pandemic, but new life and new music is happening inside thanks in part to Drew Jameson. Drew joined us on this week's episode of the podcast to talk about his life in the music industry, both locally and across the country. His passion for music started young and brought him back to his hometown of St. Louis, where he started Jamo Presents, an independent concert promoter. Bringing musicians and bands of all sizes to venues across town, he realized there was a need for smaller venues. So Atomic by Jamo was born. We talk about the ins and outs of the music business here in St. Louis and what the future holds for St. Louis's popular entertainment district, the Grove. Let's meet Drew. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are sitting in your guys' new space, recently opened.
Yes.
What does it mean to have life back in this building?
So a little background, I worked here for 5 years from 2015 to 2020 when it was Atomic Cowboy. Seeing this place with the cocktail lighting and the vibes and the people dancing, it's just the most incredible feeling, honestly. So it's really great to be back. Yeah.
When did you guys officially open?
August 31 was our soft opening, which
Okay.
had 400 people, so not so soft.
Not so soft,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
so soft. What was it like to sort of have that vibe back?
Yeah, so we this is a 3-room complex for public access, and so we started with just the patio, which we call Atomic Pavilion, and a good friend of mine, Aaron Cam, and his band, they're all great friends. Aaron Cam and the One Drops came and played, and we really focused on just the outdoor space to start.
Yeah.
And then took a week, figured some things out. Hey, this actually worked really well, I must say. And then we kind of started opening one room at a time after that to become the full 3. And but our grand opening had a really, really fun Sean Cannon's Voodoo Players doing Dave Matthews Band, something a bit more approachable for everybody opposed to something like jam band only or whatever.
Sure.
And DJ Moff, who is the first person to ever perform in the lounge and also the last person
Oh,
at
wow.
Atomic Cowboy, he reopened it with us. So that was our 2-room circus, you know what I mean? And we haven't gotten that third room up at the same time yet. And I think like as we get towards fall, we're going to start to see that full motion for the end of our outdoor season. And by next year, we'll be really, really full swing, you know? So, yeah.
So, yeah, let's walk it back to the past. So this was once Atomic Cowboy. A lot of people might have some memories here, some fuzzy ones, hazy ones. But they closed. And when did you think something needs to happen here again? Talk to me about the process of coming up with a concept here and getting it reopened.
Yeah. I have to say I never really gave up on what it was when we had to sadly close our doors in 2020. And when COVID happened, we pivoted and we opened up the lot, which was over by Busch Stadium to start. We needed the space. It was not happening at Atomic Cowboy. We didn't have access to the building at that time. And I've been on this journey ever since, figuring out where we're going to claim our new home and the roots. And I have to say, I used to take drives in the city looking for 2 acres in the right neighborhood. Like, can I build something from scratch? It's like really not as easy to find as you would think. And fate brought me back. So it's been the same vision and dream. And I think when we walked back in here for the first time and there's mail stacked like 4 feet high.
Oh,
and
no
like,
way. Yeah. What did it look like when you walked back in here?
No damage to the property,
Yeah.
but just like needed like major love. You know what I mean? And a lot of black paint as well was here. So we did a lot of painting to make it more of my vibe, I think, you know, and company wise, we're a pretty bright colored business and stuff. And this room has so much mood that we wanted to keep and bring back. So, you know, we did some very strategic, leave every exposed brick possible. Like we decided to lean into the knotty pine that's like golden hue from the aged smoke that probably happened in the 80s. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like, so we definitely minimally turned this like industrial meets mid-century modern look and feel. And yeah, I think to round back to your question, I think like it wasn't sure of where it would have ended up, but originally I wanted to buy this place from the old owner, and now I'm here and it's ours, and it's kind of the same vision as it was, you know. So
You guys also spruced up the outside a little bit.
yeah. So my interior designer helped on the inside, and then There was a lot of black outside, and we have so much more color, and we're in the Grove, and so we like kind of lean into St. Louis a little bit, you know. And I also have this funny, weird, like I love like the washed retro colors for Jamo Presents color palette. We use that, so all of the red, yellow, and blue is kind of tinted a bit, you know. Yeah, so it's fun. It's got a summery touch.
Who did the mural outside?
Jason Spencer, Killer Napkins.
Nice.
Wonderful job.
Incredible. If people haven't driven down Manchester here in the Grove in a bit and haven't seen that mural, they need to take a drive and look up at the wall because it's gigantic.
And I have to shout out for Rack and the mural project for the city. It was just amazing. And a lot of color and brightness came in, and I think it's a great added touch for us and overall, you know. Yeah.
You've kind of touched on sort of your background in music, but let's take it all the way back. When did you get into music? When did you decide that music was sort of your passion?
Yeah. Okay. So am I allowed to say we went to high school together?
Yeah, we did.
16 years old. I was playing in bands and figuring things out, and I really, really liked music. I was definitely not sure what I wanted to do with my life yet, but I noticed really early on when my dad like had acquired this church, like this could be a music venue, and I really love music, so I actually like begged him to go this direction, and he was like big Grateful Dead head growing up, and like he really loved it too, and he made the jump and the leap. So we lived in a church my senior year of high school, and
This was in Soulard.
In Soulard at Lucas Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And my living room was Lucas Schoolhouse. And so like we would watch the Super Bowl on this huge projector, and we'd have this like a different band in every night, and I would like see people like working from the bar after sound check and before their show, and that's like what I wanted. Like didn't know what that looked like and how, but that's like when I was like, I think that's the path I want to go down. I did a lot of that until I got married and had a kid. And as I did my journey, it kind of evolved into, go get a marketing degree. And although, you know, I got most of it, and then I got the dream job I wanted after, like, I had 18 credits left at University of Vermont, and I got working at Nectar's, and that's where I wanted to be. And so learning that, Nectar's model was actually very similar to Atomic Cowboy here. And so now we're working with the DJs in one room and the live bands in the other room, and we did a lot of outdoor concerts, seasonal concerts at Martha's Vineyard. And so it's kind of like all the business components that have brought back. And then I realized being a venue owner is what I really wanted at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. What was that process like? Figuring out, I mean, if you're touching essentially every element of the live music world, how did you decide what part was the best fit for you?
It probably will continue to evolve, right? But I think like Jamo Presents as a concert promoter kind of came with the not having my own venue and like working with everybody around and like positioning this business to be most organic for agents in the music industry as well as artists growing within St. Louis. Like that's like a personal soul touching mission of mine.
Yeah.
And then
when did you move back to St. Louis?
2012, I think, or 2011.
All right.
Yeah. I got into a band at 2012. So, yeah. The Mighty Pines, that group started as a group called Acoustics Anonymous, and that was what I came and did when I came home. The music venue thing adds a bit of stability for Jamo Presents, and it like is a necessary part. I think this space, the uniqueness of playing the smallest room in St. Louis with the production of its size, I should say, all the way up to 1,000-person outdoor. And then having the ability to go to Old Rock House or Off Broadway or like all these other rooms like Chesterfield Amphitheater that we do work with, like it gives us the hub. It gives us a staff that's working year round and it's not seasonal. Like at Jamo Presents, usually I'm telling people that we need them from April to October, and then it's kind of like, what are we doing after that? You know? So the four wall is what we would say in the industry. The four wall has evolved to be the need for my company, you know?
So when did you start Jamo Presents?
2011. No. 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you started it, did you know what kind of bands and what you wanted to sort of add to the music scene here in St. Louis?
Okay. So being in Burlington, Vermont in college, I went for Fish for sure. And although I've evolved my tastes very, very much just being in the music industry, I started as a jam band and bluegrass person in this business, and I brought that to St. Louis, and it worked really, really well for a long time, and it still does, by the way. But then I realized I mean, I'm 37 years old now, right? Like, is this going to be the only thing that I do? You know, and like, so by like early 30s, I started like really geeking out on like R&B and soul and funk and indie. And like, I think like the palette has expanded, and it's really important that we try to cover as much ground as possible as a company. You know what I mean? Like, I think nurturing and growing artists is our mission in a lot of ways. And I think I try to not limit it to a certain genre, you know? So
what did you learn, I guess, early on as you were working with bands, whether local or not local, to bring them to St. Louis? What was the challenge that you first realized that you needed to overcome as you were promoting concerts and bringing concerts here to St. Louis?
Yeah. I think like it's not easy getting people to come see a band they've never heard of before. And like, I think the right room that has content that people could be like, oh, like, let's check this calendar and see if like this is going to be anything fun happening tonight. A little bit of discovery that's like programmed into a weekly routine and agenda for someone who's into live music. Like, that's what Nectar's used to be like. And that's what Atomic Cowboy from the DJ thing, like, kind of had going for just, you know, like fun dance party vibes. Yes. And I added the live music that was pretty much, we had to work for every person that showed up in the room. And I think like it might be the hardest part of booking bands. Like when you're dealing with, I mean, we've done acts like, for example, earlier this year, JJ Gray and Mofro over at Just for the Amphitheater. We have close to 2,000 people there. That's a well-oiled machine. Everyone knows it. It's like, you know, you have to do certain things really, really well to make that artist happy and to make sure that all the boxes are checked. But like the first play to get to 100 paid is like an incredible accomplishment for that first artist. And it's like little things like organic social media. And by the way, you only have like $200, $100 marketing budgets. It's not like you're dealing with like huge radio or something, you know. It's like street team or like good local artists that want to collaborate. Like oftentimes I get bands in touch with each other that want to work in and out of town together. So like maybe they're not pushing and pulling a lot of money around, but they're like networking and they're doing things in and out of the city together. Like that's a big tool that I've utilized over the years, and I've made relationships happen where they've gone and played in Chicago and whatnot, you know? So yeah.
How do you do that when you're talking about a band that is smaller, maybe has a small following, but not really, it's just really a show to showcase live music? How do you reach those music lovers or even those people that just want to find something fun to do on a Friday night in St. Louis?
I think like consistency and making it known that you're open for business and you have this type of stuff that, like, you know, you're looking, what do I do on Friday night? Go to jamopresents.com and see who's coming into town. Like that's a big part of it. Yeah. And like I said, like working with collaborations with St. Louis based artists as well and whatnot, so that there is somebody that kind of can show the ropes to the other band, you know, and like, you know, share some followers with each other and like make their you know, they can bridge and network together too. Like that's been a really helpful thing. And then, you know, like just within our channels and reaches of like our email lists or our social media pages, like you kind of just get that word out and you like show videos and like get people exposed and like, this is really cool. And then maybe they'll come, you know what I mean?
Does having a venue like this make that a little easier because there is a place that people can go and maybe they don't care who's playing, they just want to go out on a Friday night and see some music and they know, well, I can now come here.
Yeah. It's a slow build at Atomic by Jamo, but at Atomic Cowboy back in 2019 and 2020 at the end, like people were here buying box office tickets and drinking and eating and like exploring and discovering. And I think like right now we're bringing in 900 people for Starfucker, and then some of them stay for the DJ dance party, but they're like discovering this place a little bit still, you know. It's like once we like get that back to the well-oiled machine, I would say by spring we are going to be rocking and rolling around here for sure. Hopefully this winter as well, you know. But I think like we will. This complex is that unique where it does allow the discovery that you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like people will be here, people will like check to see what Atomic is up to, and like I think that makes this property a bit of a podium to elevate. You know, so yeah.
What is your hope with this space? Who do you hope to bring in? What kind of bands? What do you hope that this really offers to St. Louis that right now we're missing?
Yeah.
Or have been missing at least since it closed previously?
I would say I hope that the presence that Atomic Cowboy had with the neighborhood in the Grove, I hope that we can maybe fill some of the shoes. And it was kind of considered by many as an anchor and like bringing in a lot of tourism and stuff with concerts and just like being on the map high up for a Google listing of where to see and whatnot, you know? So I'd hope that we can kind of like reestablish ourselves in a neighborhood presence way and be a good neighbor and community building for both the Grove and the city, you know? And then I hope that for the music industry, we can fill this void of the small room. You know, it has a hard time succeeding, like Cicero's and like the
R.I.P.
Right. Many others, like they're no longer here. Like this, when you have this standalone, like we were doing shows over at Central Stage in Kreisberg Arts Foundation. It was a great little room right next to the Fox Theater. It is so small that you kind of miss it a lot, you know, and like having a dance party every Friday, Saturday night right next to that room and having 1,000 people capabilities outside, like it's going to swarm and people are going to walk by and they're going to see what's going on and it's a snowball effect.
And they want to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the space like? So how many people can fit in the smaller inside room? Like what's the reach there?
It's about 200 standing in the inside room, which we're just calling Atomic, which I'm sure we're going to see how that catches. But for now, like we're trying to connect these buildings that are like tied together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. So this room that we're in right now is Atomic Lounge, which is where the future restaurant is. If we're still looking for that partner, by the way.
So foodies, if you're out there listening.
Yeah, foodies, give me a call. Then we have also our cocktail program, which is going to evolve into a really cocktail forward, led by Randy Kranz, who's won some local like St. Louis recognition and award type deals. Nice. And we also will have Old Crow and your cheap domestic beer options, so that there's kind of something for everybody at the same table, you know. And then those programs in this room will also feature like DJs on the Friday, Saturdays. So this room the lounge can hold up to 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the hope is to bring back sort of the dance parties that were so well known here.
Totally.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good
We've
stuff.
had a few.
Yeah.
For grand opening was incredible.
Good.
We have videos of that. They're getting out there. And
St. Louis needs more places where we can just come dance.
Yeah. We had a really fun bachelorette party the other night.
Nice.
Come and stay for hours.
Good.
So, you know, there's good, like the room feels really great. And I encourage anybody to come Friday, Saturdays, especially when we have the DJs. And we're open every day except for Tuesday. So, yeah.
And then you've got the outside space, which is a much larger.
Yeah. So 300 lounge, 200 Atomic. And then it's like technically like 900 at Atomic Pavilion. But I haven't told anybody this, but I'll just tell you now.
We love to break news here on the podcast.
Yeah. So we have on Talmadge, which is the street that like the back of the venue sits. So when you're at the mural, you keep driving down that wall and it turns into like fence. We're redoing that right now. And it's going to be containers on wheels. So like our bar is a 20-foot shipping container and it's on wheels and it moves.
Okay, cool.
And now we have 2 10-footers coming as well.
Oh.
And we're like redoing the fence so everything is movable. So we can scale the whole block party thing into like 1,500 people with like beautiful sight lines. And the bars come into the street.
That's awesome.
It's like going to be a quirky thing that I think even driving by, you'll point at it and be like, what is that? You know, like.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
When you think about the need, when we look at concert venues in St. Louis, you talk about some of these smaller venues that haven't been able to make it work. But do you find that there are a lot of bands that's what they're looking for, that sort of small, intimate vibe? And how do you make sure that works and that there is sort of a place for every musician to play, whether it's something as gigantic as Enterprise, the pageant, to Chesterfield, to something much smaller? How do you make sure that every musician has a place to play?
Yeah, well, currently in the music industry circuit with like agents and whatnot, like they're not really finding anything smaller than like off Broadway right now. You know what I mean? And yes, they exist, but they might, like things like Heavy Anchor exist and whatnot, like, but they might not be making the call to that venue. And like I do have relationships that will call us and looking for the smaller space, so that it's a need for the national and international side of things. But bringing it to life is a really tricky thing. I actually don't know. I've given you as many public tips as I can, but I will also tell you that we had bands like Goose and Billy Strings, and both of those groups came into this formerly known as the Bootleg, played their first 2 shows in the market, sold it out, and now they're
God, Billy Strings just had like 3 shows, didn't he, when he was in town? I feel like my coworker went. Yes, maybe. I don't know.
There's a video, an audio recording of him talking about Atomic Cowboy at the Shave. It's sold out, 10,000 people.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, being like, let's all go back, you know?
And so, like, that I think is so important for people to remember that, like, yeah, your favorite artists, they've got to start somewhere.
Right.
How exciting for you is that to be a part of a musician's story and their path?
It's like the most fulfilling thing that you could ever have, really, in a job where you come. I discovered Billy Strings on YouTube.
Really?
And I was like, his picking is so good. I know he's going to explode it. And so, like, he didn't even have an agent come to me and be like, this is the next big thing. Like, I found him before he was represented.
That's awesome.
And then he just kept growing. And, you know, now we're just like watching and saying like, oh, he's all grown up from the sidelines. But, you know, like, I think like Jamo Presents is now well equipped to grow with the artist and go all the way up. So like this room will help us continue to ride that wave with someone and help build and support at whatever step it needs to be, you know? So
yeah, let's say you discover the next great musician on YouTube and they start here at Atomic, and then through Jamo Presents, they can eventually work their way to some of these larger venues.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Do you work, is it, I don't know, percentage wise of like local versus non-local bands? I mean, are there a lot of local bands as much as there used to be? Are there more? What is the music situation like in St. Louis these days?
It evolves. Like, and there's a little bit of cycles that happen too, where like, depending on the scene, it's completely different, by the way. Like, what genre do you want to talk about?
Sure.
It would be completely different. But
yeah,
like things that are close to me, like within, let's just talk through like maybe the jam and the bluegrass world that we spoke about earlier. Excuse me. So a lot of the bands that we're playing and supporting the out of town acts and making sure that, you know, that's part of the thing. Like you get the right St. Louis group on the stage with this big band, and a ton of people are going to come, and you're going to be like, I get to open for Leftover Sam, and it's going to be the best thing. Like, you got to come see me at night. And like, your friends do come, and next thing you know, it's a big high school reunion or whatever, you know what I mean? But that recipe only works for so long, because now your bands start to grow up from St. Louis, and they're headlining their own shows, and they deserve that, by the way.
Yeah.
And they got to make the big bucks doing those same size rooms on their own, and they aren't as available to do these kind of like passion gigs that don't really make the big dollars. And so now who's next? You know what I mean? And that evolution of things has a bit of a cycle where it's, you know, a bit of like a build up, and then they've graduated on, and then you're building up the next one. And it's like, so right now I feel like there's a lot of opportunity out there if you're looking to support and work with national and international acts that are coming to St. Louis. Like, if you're hungry and you want to get it, like, there's room to do it right now. And I know they're out there. I've been so busy general contracting this venue that I haven't had the luxury of digging into my desk like that, you know. But like, we're getting ready to really start working on that again, you know. Yeah. So,
you know, we just had something like Evolution Fest. How important is it for the St. Louis music scene to have big festivals like that, smaller festivals that we see, you know, the big touring acts come through places like the Dome or Enterprise? I mean, how important is it for us to be on that major touring stage as a music city?
Yeah, very. I think that there's a delicate dance that we are doing right now with like, September is a really busy month for St. Louis. Like, we had 2 music festivals, and we had the balloon race, and we have
music at the intersection. Saw huge crowds. It was amazing.
Yeah. I did some booking on that as well. Actually, I work with that team, so
nice.
that's been fun. And you know, I think like as we get to next steps, like, I would hope that everybody could talk to each other and spread it out, and like, you know, like, there's a lot of money that goes into something like a festival, so like, you know, there's a lot for everybody to risk and cannibalize against each other and all that. But it is important, and it's also important to be recognized by those agents that St. Louis can do stuff like that, and then they want to be there again. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember I was working down at Laclede Landing and doing another lot series down there when the Rolling Stones came. Yeah. And that show just blew up Wash Ave. It was incredible. Like, it was like a thriving city scene for a day. And it was like, Imagine if we got that like
all the time.
All the time, right? Yeah.
And a good reminder for people to go out and support the shows, big, small, because that is what then keeps bands coming back.
Right. And think about the boost that does for that day or 2 or 3 just from the travel and everything. Like, I mean, all those restaurants and bars and everything were just so full. You know what I mean? It's not like small amounts of people that can go to the Dome, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What is coming up? I know we talked about not getting too specific on dates, but we want to tease some listeners on what they can expect. Anything that really excites you in the next coming months that people should make sure that they've got this space on their radar.
Okay, so I'm speaking top level. So our outdoor season ends mid-October.
Okay, so gotta come quick.
If you're listening very quickly, we've got Grow Fest this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're the 3rd stage for Grow Fest.
Nice.
It's going to be very cool to be a part of that again. And Abdul and team that organizes it, we're honored that they would give us that ability to kind of complement the main stage a bit and like be their it's kind of like ping pong on these festival days. You can come out and be like, hey, like BJ is a Chicago kid, and then come back to Master Camp afterwards. You know what I mean? Like just like pushes and pulls, a really, really fun dynamic on a street festival event, you know, that's free. Also pretty amazing.
We love a free event,
right?
Right?
Yeah. So that's going to be really big, and that's this Saturday. Night Chaser is taking over our complex next week on the 12th. And she's just, Alexis Tucci is just a fierce force in the most beautiful way, I would say. She does amazing events, and we love working with her. And then this winter, we will have 1 to 2 shows a week to start, I would say, that are going to be like really great, and those up-and-comers that are like people know about them and are excited, and it's a good time to check them out. Like we have this group called Swayze that's got like a reggae touch to it. We've got Dogs in a Pile, which is in that jam scene. I will say a lot of them are still in the jam scene. Like
you know what you like, you know it's
Less Special. I've been trying to work on for many years, and they're coming. A little electronic music is coming with Sun Squabby, and they're like live electronic and stuff. And yeah, we have LaDonya, which is like a Latino, like Latin America artist, and that will be a really, really nice treat for this space as well. Yeah. And there are a couple of like indie shows that are really big that are escaping my name right now.
But people should check your calendar.
They should. It's you can go to atomicstl.com or jamopresents.com.
Okay, and you can find it all there. And again, I always tell people, you know, there's really no excuse to be bored in St. Louis. We have so many cool events happening, whether it's live music, DJs. There's just so much going on. What does it mean to you to continue to be a part of that growth in St. Louis and making our city a better place?
It feels, once again, the feels come out for sure. Like, it feels great. And I would say this round, like, there's been so much support. Like, I'm not talking... It's not necessarily like grants or anything like that I'm speaking on right now. I'm speaking more along the lines of like just people like helping you connect dots and like get it together and making sure that you're feeling that community and you know, getting this place open was the single-handedly hardest professional move in my entire life.
Sure.
Like the place was not code ready and I've never GC'd anything in my life, and I learned how to do it, which is don't call me to hire me for that, but I definitely know what I'm doing with it now, you know, but
you can do a few house projects.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of that. It took a village, and honestly, I must say that like I couldn't even start thanking the people individually, but the amount of support that we received and how many times people saved us every day, like to get this thing to keep going. And
people don't realize it is really hard to not only open up a business, but to open up something of this size. And I mean, that's complicated.
Yeah. I mean, like, seeing the support made me realize how special of a project it actually was, because people were willing and wanting and excited, and they kept being like, I can't wait. Like, what can I do? And I think we just can't wait to give it back. You know what I mean? And to show that it was worth it. Yeah.
Have you had people sort of walking down Manchester and like peeping in, and has there been sort of that, wait, is Atomic opening back up? Like, what's that been like to hear those little like, oh, whoa, wait, I loved going there. What does that mean to you?
The first couple of weeks was a lot of like tours. Like people would just come in and get a drink and just like take a look and just like reminisce, you know? And it was awesome.
I remember that moment there.
And the bartenders were happy to show them around and so, like, see what we did. And like, I think like that it's going to keep happening for about a year, and then it'll just be, okay, we're here now, you know?
Here.
Yeah.
In a place that, you know, kind of helped really established the Grove, if we think about it, and it's back and exciting things are coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned more about the history of the Grove every day. Like when I was collecting signatures for liquor licenses, I'm meeting people that were like the founders with my old boss.
Sure.
And stuff. And it's like incredible to meet and hear more and more. But, you know, people like the folks from Just John's and like some of the landlords down the street, like they did a lot of quirky things to get this neighborhood like to be the fun, reputable entertainment hub that it is. And, you know, my old boss, Chip, definitely was a part of that. And we're going to try to, you know, carry the torch and make this place a really responsible but fun environment for everybody, you know?